Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming and more Shadow of the Erdtree. We're back again, this time for some new secrets and things as a new episode for this DLC. In this series we cover lore, mechanics you can use yourself, weird bugs, and even unexpected details. A lot of this stuff comes from not only our own finds though, but the community at large, and even many comments from people watching the videos. So as usual, we have a good mix of that today, so let's just begin. For our first thing today then, it's quite a weird one. There's been this big conversation on Twitter over the last couple of days about a surprising change to the first, or one of the first major bosses you'll fight in this DLC, the Divine Beast, the Dancing Lion. Now when you actually open up the doorway originally, you have that cinematic that plays where it looks like the Dancing Lion is dead and it's being revived by this mysterious voice calling it to dance and convert and basically deal with the strumpet's follower. In any case, this mysterious voice does revive the beast and you must defeat it. But that mysterious voice is a character in the game. This interesting horn-sent grandma is hidden in a room at the southeastern point of Ballarat. You get a key, you open up, you can go speak with her. And she's not exactly your biggest fan. Funnily, if you do defeat the boss and bring the helmet, wear it and go talk to her, you'll get some unique dialogue if you didn't know. But this isn't what that's about. If before you engage with the Divine Beast, you come here and speak with her and then attack her, what you can do is send her into a different phase. You won't exactly kill her, but you will have successfully beaten up an old lady. Fantastic, great job. She'll get new dialogue where she's barely functional, not very happy with you, and basically just curses you with every breath that she has. Now, when you go back to Divine Beast and open that door and do that cinematic, a whole new dialogue will play. And you might not have even really noticed it because it's so similar. Essentially what she says for the original dialogue when not beaten up is, "O horn-decked beast, we beg of thee rise, dance and convert, cleanse all that thou wilt. Cruelty, woe, and those who plague the tower, cleanse away the strumpet's vile progeny." When she's kind of beat up then, she says the same opening line, but then immediately says, "We beg of thee to dance and convert. And with the beauty of thy grand display, cleanse away the foulness fate imposed. Cleanse away the strumpet's vile progeny." So again, you might not even notice because the starting line, the ending line, they're the same. But it's the delivery that's completely different. Have a listen.
"O horn-decked beast, from higher sphere delivered, we beg of thee to dance and cavort, and with the beauty of thy grand display, cleanse away the foulness fate imposed."
Yes, as you can hear, she's very much barely alive, and yet despite whatever you do to her, she will still revive the beast. A completely random little detail, not something that's really going to take much gameplay change, but pretty cool that they went to this detail that, players might beat up the grandmother. Let's move on to the next. Moving on to a very functional tip, something I saw on the Elden Ring Reddit by the user KDude. Essentially, it's to do with the boar rider here, that of course is a nightmare with his hitbox and charge in particular. They even changed the recent patch where his position was, always forcing him to the back of the room so that you have plenty of time upon entering to be prepared for that annoying charge. The reason that it's so irritating, I would say, is because of that hitbox. And this post by Kadu basically says there's a really consistent and easy way to dodge that if you don't know, and I figured why not include it in the series. How this works is the hitbox of the boar is really long. As you do any diagonal forward or backwards roll, you're being clipped by that hitbox that's still passing by. Even though you rolled the initial hit, by the time you finish the roll, you're still within that hitbox and then taking the hit. And that's what's causing a lot of the issue, I would think. In the footage shown by Kadu to show that, he even has the hitbox highlighted using some sort of mod to showcase this detail. And his consistent and really easy way to dodge it is to simply walk left or right while the boar's charging towards you, forcing the boar to kind of tilt and turn towards the direction you're going. Then, as you're about to collide, you roll the opposite direction. So if you're walking left, you roll right, or vice versa. This means rather than rolling along the long length of the body of the boar, you're rolling horizontally, where the hitbox is smallest. I guess you could imagine it like a long rectangle, so rather than rolling through the lengthwise position, you're rolling through the width. To be fair, it is one of the most annoying things They have resolved that by moving his position back every time, but you still need to know how to dodge that charge. And yeah, this is a really good way to do it. So props to K-Dude for showing that. Alright, so for this next one, we have a useless but very interesting weird detail. There's another creator in this space that I really recommend. I've referenced them in my Things series and the original Elden Ring content a couple times, and it's Sully the Witch. They make this really cool content about cut content or surprising details we otherwise would never see. And in their recent video, The Tragedy of the Twin Moon, at one point they actually expose Rellana's face. Or, well, in theory. But the reality of what we face in game, if you were to take off the helmet, there isn't anything underneath. Many characters actually have fully created, modeled faces, and yet this one doesn't. Rellana's true face, just a blank oval with a chainmail style texture on it. But this isn't necessarily what I want to talk about. If you've ever played Dark Souls 3, Rellana was a weird moment for all of us. As you step in and fight her, it's pretty cool, nothing too strange about this, just a cool character. But then she goes into phase 2, and she takes this very specific stance, with one magic sword and one fire sword held in a very specific way when you use the Ash of War if you're using the weapon. This is the Pontiff Sullivan stance. It is super similar in concept, one kind of magical sword, one fire sword, and the stance that is very similar, although it's not exactly the same. And while, yeah, she has totally different movesets and playstyle and everything, it was a weird moment where I'm like, Pontiff Sullivan? Is that you? We've now seen that the true face of her, at least in game, is an oval with a chainmail texture. Now I want you to look at Dark Souls 3 Pontiff Sullivan when we do the same thing. We take off his coverings and see what's truly under. It's a textureless oval with this strange pattern over it. Instead of a chainmail texture though, it's kind of like roots or vines from a tree. This same cross pattern is there for this character as well. It really makes you wonder, is this literal asset reuse, where they took Pontiff Sullivan and then reworked his model and concept into something new for Rellana? And seemingly because of that, there's this leftover empty oval head with cross pattern on it that they reworked into a more knightly design. Absolutely useless information, but I found it very interesting. And so I wanted to share that and see what you guys think. So let me know. Next up, we have a couple of really good tips from the comments, all to do with those unique enemies, the untouchables, that you find down in the Abyssal Woods. Down in that forest, you have a bunch of them as you pass through to go to Midra's Manse, and as I've shown in this series, you can in fact parry them to make them no longer untouchable, and in fact vulnerable not only to the critical hit after you land the parry, but all damage to follow, at least for an extended period, which is fantastic. If that concept doesn't appeal to you, like you don't find yourself confident with parrying, and you know, obviously you're going to be punished really hard if you miss it against these, then fair enough. And the comments gave us some good advice on how to deal with these enemies outside of parrying them. First, you can distract them. Gia Rum talked about the shatter shard arrows, which are essentially these sticks with crystals on the end that make a very loud sound when they collide with something. So you can grab a bow, even ones with low stat requirements, aim in, and then fire pretty damn far away. This will draw the attention of the untouchables, and they'll go run over to the source of the sound. It's super easy. You can break their patrol pattern and push them to the side of the passage, allowing you to pass on by no problem. This is a really good trick, but will require you to actually craft these arrows, of which you might have limited resources on, but it's not exactly a massive issue because you don't need many of these arrows. However, as some other people commented in reply, there are the original ruin fragments that you find all over the original game. These are essentially stones, pebbles, that kind of thing that you can throw. Just like those shatter shard arrows, it works the same. Only you'll have to stand and throw these, leaving you more exposed to do it, but you won't have to craft them, you can just pick them up, and you probably have a massive pile of them from the original game anyway. In any case, good tips for that, but it was also I Might Be Crazy who referenced the Black Knife armor, the original armor set that makes you make no sound when you're moving around. It's actually relevant as a mechanic, really useful in this section. This is because these untouchables won't notice you until you go too close to them by making a sound. You can avoid making much sound by crouching, but you can't be quieter than when wearing the Black Knife armor set. You're literally making no sound, so you can stand up and move around like normal, or even sprint as you can see I'm doing here, to the point where I'm right behind it, full sprinting in a circle, and it has no idea. It's not a foolproof strategy though. As you can see, as I get too close, there's still kind of an aggro range. It doesn't need sound, but it senses your presence all the same. So I can imagine while you're wearing this armor, as long as you're not in its line of sight, there's a kind of circle around it that's quite small that if you step into, it will kind of recognize you and aggro you. Still a very useful tip for getting through that section, if you're not willing to take them head on and try for that parry timing to kill them. So some pretty good tips there. Thank you guys. Okay, for this last one then, we have one from the comments, and I'm going to test it for the first time live because I'm really interested to see if this actually works. It comes from Chaotic Fallenhide, who lets us know about some strange glitches to do with this weapon, the obsidian lamina. If you're unaware, this is the main weapon of the Pureblood Knight, Ansbach. It comes with a new Ashwar dynastic sickle play, which basically allows you to dash backwards, kind of like the Bloody Hellis, and then do a follow-up. What's cool about it though is that you have kind of free movement of it, where you're kind of always forced away from the target on Hellis. This is a lot more free-flowing, which is cool in itself. The normal follow-up is a longer, heavy attack combo, which does a lot of good damage to be fair, but it's very slow and leaves you very exposed, so it's debatable how good it actually is. But according to Chaotic, there's a weird bug to do with this weapon, in particular in the Ash of War. The first example was to do with the Black Steel Twin Blade, one of the new weapon types in the game, specifically with the Ash of War, aspects of the Crucible wings. A spinning attack is performed when wielding a twin blade, so rather than just being a direct thrust, it also has you spin around, dealing extra ticks of damage during that thrust. Pretty cool. Now, if you were to use this Ash of War with a twin blade and then swap to the Obsidian Lamina and use its skill, apparently the follow-up changes. So let's look at the Lamina's Ash of War again, a backstep, and then a really long, probably 3-parter I think it is, leading to that backstep at the end. Now, while we've got the Black Steel Twin Blade equipped, we use the Ash of War, we do this spin, and what this is going to do is change the Lamina's Ash of War. So it's a backstep, and then the follow-up has changed. As you can see, it's now this spin attack. What's interesting about this is that that's just the moveset now. So let me change weapon to one that's going to change the Ash of War into something else. It's still on the Twin Blade one because that's the last one I used. So let's now try the Flame Spear Ash of War with the Flame Knight's Greatsword. That's that thrust with the fire. Pretty cool. That should apparently change this Ash of War as well. So it now does this weird attack. We still do the back step, but then we do a more vertical swipe to start with, and then that horizontal. Apparently, if you use the Great Katana and use an old Ash of War, it'll change it again. So let's try that. This is Blood Tax with the Great Katana specifically. So let's two-hand the Lamina, and now try the follow-up. And that's changed it, interestingly, to the same one as the Fire Knight's Greatsword. So, at the very least, we're aware of two. So let's change it again. We'll use the spin attack of the aspects of Crucible, the wings, then we go back to Lamina and use that Ash of War, and as you can see, that's a much more spinny attack, starting from the bottom and working its way up, and then as we use one of these other ones, it converts it into the more vertical attack to start with, the vertical slam down, and then the horizontal. So weird. It's like it's breaking the Ash of War, essentially cutting out parts of it. I can't imagine this is intentional though. There's just no way. But it might make the Ash of War more viable if you use these tricks. Either way, credit again and thank you to Chaotic Fallenhide and also Val Raven for these tips to do with the different weapons and ashes to try. What do you guys think is happening here? But there you have it, another episode down, some particularly weird stuff today. Pontiff back in Elden Ring, weird ash-breaking bugs, and unexpected dialogue changes. A pretty cool lineup. If you guys have anything that would fit in the series then, or just want to add your own thoughts to any of the topics today, let us know in the comments, we might just include it. But until next time, I've been Hollow, you've been you, thank you for watching.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.